The Broken Shield. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Mining Station Alpha 7, watching the stars twinkle against the endless black of space. The station hummed quietly around her, a testament to human engineering floating 300 light-years from Earth. For 2 years, she had commanded this outpost, overseeing the extraction of rare quantum crystals that powered humanity's faster-than-light drives. The morning shift had just begun when Dr. Marcus Webb burst through the doors, his usually calm demeanor replaced by barely controlled panic. His gray hair was disheveled, and his hands shook as he clutched a datapad. "Sarah, we have a problem, a big one." Marcus activated the main display, and Sarah's blood ran cold. The screen showed a 3-dimensional map of local space, dotted with thousands of red contacts moving toward their position. "How many?" Sarah asked, though she dreaded the answer. "Our sensors count 51,000 vessels. They'll reach us in 18 hours. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead. "Sarah, this is an invasion fleet, the largest anyone has ever recorded." Sarah stared at the approaching armada. Alpha 7 housed 800 miners, scientists, and support staff. Their only defenses were basic shields and a handful of mining lasers never intended for combat. The station had been built for extraction, not war. "Have they tried to communicate?" Sarah asked, forcing her voice to remain steady. "Actually, yes. They sent this message an hour ago." Marcus activated the communication system. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing an imposing alien figure. The creature stood nearly 8 feet tall, with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws. Its skin was a deep purple, marked with intricate silver patterns that seemed to shift in the light. 2 pairs of golden eyes regarded the camera with cold intelligence. "Huma, friends of the mining station," the alien spoke in perfect English, its voice carrying an odd harmonic quality. "I am Commander Zektar of the Cathari Empire. Your species has violated sacred space by establishing this facility. You have 24 hours to evacuate. After that time, your station will be destroyed. Any who remain will be considered hostile combatants." The message ended, leaving the observation deck in heavy silence. 24 hours, Sarah repeated quietly. "Marcus, what exactly did we find out here that's so important to them?" Dr. Webb activated another display showing the quantum crystal formations they'd been mining. "These aren't just power sources, Sarah. Our research suggests they're connected to some kind of quantum network that spans the galaxy. If I'm right, controlling this location could give someone incredible power." Sarah nodded grimly. "Explain it to me like I'm 5. Imagine the crystals are like universal remote controls. Whoever has them can potentially influence technology across vast distances. We've barely scratched the surface of what they can do." Marcus paused, meeting her eyes. "Sarah, if the Cathari get their hands on this technology, they could dominate every spacefaring civilization in the galaxy." The weight of responsibility settled on Sarah's shoulders. She had joined the mining service after leaving Earth's military, seeking a quiet life among the stars. Now she found herself holding the line against an empire that could enslave the galaxy. "Send a message to Earth," Sarah ordered. "Full priority. Tell them what we're facing." "Already did. It'll take 6 months for help to arrive, assuming they can even spare the ships." Marcus looked defeated. "Sarah, we should evacuate. 800 lives versus an empire isn't a fair trade." Sarah was quiet for a long moment, thinking of her daughter back on Earth, of the billions of humans who had no idea their freedom might depend on what happened at this remote station. "No," she said finally, "we don't run. Sarah, be reasonable. This isn't like your military days. We're miners, not soldiers." "You're right. We're miners." Sarah smiled grimly. "And we're very good at moving large amounts of rock and metal quickly. Marcus, how long would it take to reconfigure our mining lasers?" Dr. Webb's eyes widened as he understood. "You want to turn industrial equipment into weapons? I want to turn this entire station into the universe's angriest porcupine." Sarah activated the station-wide intercom. All hands, this is Captain Chen. Report to the main assembly hall immediately. We have a situation to discuss. An hour later, 800 people filled the station's largest gathering space. Workers in coveralls sat next to scientists in lab coats. Engineers rubbed shoulders with cafeteria staff. Sarah stood before them, looking at faces that showed confusion, fear, and determination in equal measure. "By now you've all heard about our visitors," Sarah began. "The Cathari Empire has given us 24 hours to evacuate before they destroy Alpha 7. Command wants us to run. I want us to stay and fight." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A senior engineer named Rodriguez stood up. "Captain, with respect, we signed up to mine crystals, not fight wars. Some of us have families." "You're absolutely right, Rodriguez. And that's exactly why we can't run." Sarah gestured to the display showing the Cathari fleet. "This isn't just about our station. It's about the quantum crystal network we've discovered. If the Cathari control it, they'll have power over every human world, your families included." Dr. Webb stepped forward. "The crystals we've been mining, they're not just energy sources. They're nodes in a galaxy-spanning network. Whoever controls this location could potentially influence technology across thousands of worlds." The assembly hall fell silent as the implications sank in. "So what exactly are you proposing?" asked Maria Santos, the station's chief medical officer. Sarah activated a holographic display of the station. "We weaponize everything. Mining lasers become defensive turrets. Ore haulers become missile platforms. Processing plants become shield generators. We turn Alpha 7 into something the Cathari won't expect." "Against 50,000 ships?" Rodriguez shook his head. "That's suicide." "Maybe," Sarah admitted. "But sometimes standing up to impossible odds is what separates us from the darkness. My grandfather fought in Earth's last world war. He told me once that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's being afraid and doing what's right anyway." An older woman in the back raised her hand. Sarah recognized her as Elena Vasquez, a veteran miner who'd been working the outer systems for decades. "Captain, I've seen what happens when good people do nothing. Count me in." One by one, hands began rising throughout the assembly hall. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Rodriguez looked around at his colleagues and sighed. "Well, I always said mining was dangerous work. Guess this is just a different kind of danger." The next 18 hours transformed Alpha 7 from a peaceful mining station into humanity's most remote fortress. Teams of engineers worked frantically to reconfigure equipment. Mining lasers designed to cut through asteroid rock were modified to focus their beams into weapons capable of piercing starship hulls. The station's massive ore processors were converted into ammunition factories, turning raw materials into kinetic projectiles. Cargo haulers were fitted with improvised missile racks. Even the cafeteria's industrial ovens were repurposed to create explosive charges. Sarah stood in the command center, watching the transformation through security feeds. Dr. Webb approached with a tablet full of data. "The quantum crystals are responding to all this activity," he reported. "I think they're somehow amplifying our technology. The mining lasers are outputting 30% more power than they should be. Is that good or bad?" "Honestly, I have no idea. We're in completely uncharted territory." Marcus paused, then added quietly, "Sarah, you know this is insane, right? Even with improvements, we're one station against an empire." Sarah nodded, watching a team of miners install armor plating on the observation deck. "Marcus, do you know why humans spread across the galaxy faster than any other species we've met?" "Better technology?" "Stubbornness," Sarah smiled. "We have this annoying habit of refusing to accept that something can't be done. The Cathari are about to learn that lesson firsthand." The alien fleet arrived precisely on schedule, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Sarah watched from the command center as thousands of ships arranged themselves around Alpha 7 like a metallic noose. Commander Zektar's image appeared on the main screen again. "Humans, your evacuation time has expired. I detect no departure vessels. This is your final warning." Sarah activated the station's response transmitter. "Commander Zektar, this is Captain Sarah Chen of Mining Station Alpha 7. We decline your generous offer to leave." The alien commander's four eyes widened slightly. "You choose to fight? Against the might of the Cathari Empire?" "We choose to stand." Sarah's voice was calm but firm. "This station protects something larger than ourselves. If you want it, you'll have to go through us." For a moment, Zektar was silent. When he spoke again, there was something almost like respect in his voice. "Very well, human. You have shown courage, if not wisdom. I will make your end swift." The first wave of Cathari fighters screamed toward Alpha 7, their weapons already charging. Sarah gripped the command console and opened the station-wide channel. "All stations, this is it. Show them what humans do when cornered." She paused, thinking of her daughter. Out of Earth, of the billions of people who would never know their names. Fire at will. Alpha 7 erupted in light and fury. Mining lasers that had once carved through asteroids now carved through alien hulls. Improvised missiles streaked across space, each one built by human hands and guided by human determination. The station's shields, powered by quantum crystals and human ingenuity, blazed like a star. The first wave of attackers met a wall of defensive fire they hadn't expected. Ships that had come to massacre defenseless miners instead found themselves in a real battle. Explosions bloomed across space as human weapons found their marks. But the Cathari were not easily deterred. Wave after wave of fighters threw themselves at the station. Sarah watched the tactical display as their improvised defenses slowly gave ground. Several mining laser installations had been destroyed, and the shields were fluctuating under constant bombardment. "Shield generators at 60%, reported Chief Engineer Rodriguez from his position at the power management console. "We can't keep this up much longer." Sarah nodded grimly. They had bloodied the Cathari's nose, but mathematics was mathematics. Eventually, 50,000 ships would overwhelm 800 miners. "Captain!" Dr. Webb called from his station, excitement breaking through the tension in his voice. "The quantum crystals! They're doing something! Look at this!" The display showed energy readings from the crystal formations deep within the station. The patterns were unlike anything they'd recorded before, complex waves of power that seemed to pulse in rhythm with their defensive systems. "What am I looking at, Marcus?" I think the crystals are learning from us. They're adapting to our technology, amplifying not just our power output, but our tactical responses. Sarah, the station's computer systems are operating at impossible efficiency levels." As if to prove his point, the next wave of Cathari fighters met an even more coordinated defense. Mining lasers moved with uncanny precision, tracking targets with accuracy that should have been impossible for mining equipment. Missiles curved through space in perfect arcs, finding weak points in alien armor. From the command deck of the Cathari flagship, Commander Zektar watched the battle with growing amazement. These humans fought with a desperation that transcended mere survival instinct. They had turned industrial equipment into weapons of war through sheer determination. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost over 300 fighters. The humans' defensive capabilities are far beyond our intelligence estimates." Zektar studied the tactical display. The mining station should have fallen within minutes. Instead, it blazed like a defiant star, its weapons cutting down his ships with increasing efficiency. "Bring us closer," he ordered. "I want to see these humans for myself." The fire within, the battle had raged for 6 hours, and mining station Alpha 7 looked like a fortress under siege. Scorch marks covered its hull, where Cathari weapons had found their mark, but still it fought. Sarah Chen stood in the command center, her uniform torn and her face streaked with smoke, coordinating the defense of humanity's most remote outpost. "Rodriguez, how are we holding up?" she called to her chief engineer. "Shields at 30% and falling," Rodriguez replied, his fingers flying over his console. "We've lost 5 mining laser arrays and the port docking bay is completely gone, but the quantum crystals..." cap ties. And they're doing things I can't explain. Dr. Webb looked up from his station, his eyes bright with exhaustion and wonder. The crystals aren't just amplifying our systems anymore. They're integrating with them. Our targeting computers are predicting enemy movements before the Cathari even make them. Sarah nodded, watching the tactical display as another wave of alien fighters approached. Their improvised weapons tracked the incoming ships with impossible precision, each shot perfectly timed and placed. It was as if the station itself had become aware, fighting for its life with the intelligence beyond human understanding. "All stations prepare for defensive pattern Delta," Sarah commanded. Across the station, miners turned gunners adjusted their weapons, following targeting solutions that appeared on their screens like gifts from some benevolent AI. The Cathari fighters met a wall of coordinated fire that seemed to anticipate their every move. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes as mining lasers, never designed for combat, cut through military-grade armor with surgical precision. Aboard the Cathari flagship, Commander Zektar paced the bridge with growing frustration, his golden eyes fixed on the tactical display showing their losses. 300 fighters had become 500, then 800. The mining station that should have been destroyed hours ago continued to fight with increasing effectiveness. "High Admiral Vexen demands a status report," his communications officer announced. The holographic image of Zektar's superior materialized at the center of the bridge. High Admiral Vexen was ancient even by Cathari standards, her purple skin marked with the silver scars of 100 battles. Her 4 arms gestured impatiently as she spoke. "Commander Zektar, explain to me how a mining station has held off our entire advance fleet for 6 hours. "High Admiral, the humans. They are not what we expected." Zektar struggled to find words. "They fight with a determination that defies logic. Their industrial equipment has been converted into weapons that rival our own military technology." "Impossible. Our intelligence shows humans as barely capable of interstellar flight." "Our intelligence was wrong." Zektar activated a combat recording, showing human mining lasers cutting through Cathari fighters with lethal accuracy. "They are not just surviving our assault. They are inflicting significant casualties." Vexen watched the recording in silence, her ancient eyes studying the human defenders. "Most curious. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species has ever transformed civilian infrastructure into military assets so effectively." She paused, considering. "Perhaps we underestimated their potential. Shall I order a full assault? Our remaining ships can overwhelm them through sheer numbers." "No." Vexen's decision surprised even herself. "I want to meet these humans personally. Prepare a shuttle. I will negotiate with their leader." Back on Alpha 7, Sarah received an unexpected communication from the Cathari fleet. The image that appeared on her screen showed an elderly alien female, her bearing regal, despite the scars that marked her ancient features. "I am High Admiral Vexen of the Cathari Empire," the alien announced. "I request permission to come aboard your station under a flag of truce." Sarah exchanged glances with Dr. Webb, who shrugged helplessly. "This is unprecedented," she admitted. "Very well, High Admiral. You may approach, but understand that any treachery will be met with the full force of our defenses." "I would expect nothing less from such worthy opponents." An hour later, Sarah stood in Alpha 7's main docking bay, flanked by a dozen armed miners. The Cathari shuttle that approached Ched was elegant in its deadly simplicity, a work of art designed for war. It settled onto the deck with barely a whisper, and High Admiral Vexen emerged. Up close, the alien leader was even more imposing. Nearly 9 feet tall, she moved with the fluid grace of an apex predator. Her 4 arms were adorned with intricate metal bracers that clearly served both ceremonial and combat purposes. But it was her eyes that captured Sarah's attention, ancient, intelligent, and filled with curiosity rather than hostility. "Captain Chen, I presume." Vexen spoke in English that was far more fluent than her subordinates had been. "I have come to understand how 800 miners have held off 50,000 of my finest warriors." "Simple," Sarah replied without hesitation. "We're fighting for something worth dying for." Vexen tilted her head, a gesture that somehow conveyed both confusion and respect. "Elaborate." Sarah gestured toward the observation windows, where Earth's sun was barely visible as a distant star. 300 light-years in that direction, there are 12 billion humans who have no idea their freedom depends on this conversation. Behind you, there's a quantum crystal network that could give whoever controls it power over every civilized world in the galaxy. She met Vexen's gaze steadily. "We won't let that happen." "Even at the cost of your lives?" "Especially at the cost of our lives." Vexen was quiet for a long moment, studying Sarah's face. "In 3 millennia of conquest, I have encountered thousands of species. Most surrender when faced with superior force. Others fight briefly before accepting defeat. Never have I seen a people transform civilian infrastructure into military assets so effectively, or fight with such, what is your word, courage." "It's what we do," Sarah said simply. "Humans don't know when to quit. Show me these crystals that are worth dying for." Sarah led the alien admiral through the station's corridors, past damage from the ongoing battle and miners working frantically to maintain their defenses. They passed the improvised weapon stations where cafeteria workers had become gunners and scientists had become tacticians. In the Crystal Processing Center, Vexen stood transfixed by the formations that pulsed with otherworldly light. Dr. Webb explained their discoveries about the quantum network, his scientific enthusiasm overriding any fear of the alien leader. "Fascinating," Vexen murmured. "We knew these formations existed, but we never understood their true purpose. You humans have accomplished in months what our scientists failed to discover in centuries." "That's because you were thinking like conquerors," Dr. Webb said boldly. "We approached them as partners. The crystals don't respond to force. They respond to cooperation." As if to prove his point, the crystals pulsed brighter, and throughout the station, human systems operated with impossible efficiency. Vexen watched in amazement as the quantum formations seemed to actively participate in the station's defense. "Remarkable," she breathed. "The crystals have bonded with your technology, your people. They are not just tools to be used, but allies to be respected." "Exactly," Sarah said. "That's the difference between humans and conquerors. We don't just take, we build relationships." Vexen turned to face Sarah, her 4 arms spread in what Sarah somehow recognized as a gesture of profound respect. "Captain Chen, your species has shown me something I thought lost to the universe." "What's that?" "Honor, courage, the willingness to sacrifice everything for principles greater than oneself." Vexen's voice carried a weight of centuries. "The Cathari Empire has conquered 1,000 worlds, but we have lost something vital in the process. We have forgotten, and what it means to stand for something worth dying for." An alarm suddenly echoed through the station. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain, we're detecting massive energy buildups throughout the Cathari fleet. It looks like they're preparing for a final assault." Vexen activated a communicator on her wrist, speaking rapidly in her native language. After a moment, she looked back to Sarah. "Commander Zektar grows impatient with my absence. He believes I have been captured or compromised." "Have you?" The ancient alien smiled, an expression that was both terrifying and oddly comforting. "Perhaps. Captain Chen, I offer you a choice. The Cathari Empire could use allies like humanity, partners, not subjects. Your courage has earned something no conquered species has ever received: our respect." Sarah stared at the alien leader, hardly daring to believe what she was hearing. "You're offering us an alliance? After we've been shooting down your ships for the last 7 hours? "Especially because of that. Any species willing to fight 50,000 ships with mining equipment deserves to stand among the stars as equals, not servants." Vexen's expression grew serious. "But the choice must be made now. My fleet will not wait much longer, and there are those among my people who view any delay as weakness." Before Sarah could respond, Dr. Webb's excited voice cut through the tension. "Captain, the crystals, they're responding to the High Admiral's presence. The quantum network it's singing." Indeed, the crystal formations throughout the station pulsed with new patterns of light, creating harmonics that resonated through the hull itself. For a moment, every person on Alpha 7, human and Cathari alike, felt connected to something vast and ancient. "The crystals approve," Vexen said with wonder in her voice. "They recognize the potential for Cooper." Asian over conquest. Sarah felt the weight of decision settle on her shoulders. She thought of her daughter on Earth, of the billions of humans who would never know that their future was being decided in a remote mining station. But she also thought of the universe itself, of the possibility that humanity might not just survive among the stars, but help build something better. "High Admiral," she said finally, "if humanity accepts your alliance, what guarantee do we have that we won't become another conquered species in a few generations?" Vexen reached into her ceremonial robes and withdrew an ornate crystal blade. Before Sarah could react, the alien leader drew the blade across her own palm, letting purple blood drip onto the quantum crystals at their feet. "By the ancient laws of my people, I bind this oath with blood and crystal," Vexen declared. "Humanity shall stand as equals in the Cathari Empire. Your world shall remain free, your cultures preserved, your courage honored. This I swear on the quantum network that connects all thinking beings." The crystals blazed with light, and throughout the galaxy, every quantum formation pulsed in response. Sarah felt the truth of the oath resonate in her bones. "Then, on behalf of humanity," Sarah said, extending her hand, "I accept your alliance." As their hands met, human flesh and alien skin united in purpose, the battle for Alpha 7 ended not in conquest, but in the beginning of a new age. The universe had room for both warriors and miners, for conquerors and builders, but most of all, it had room for courage. In the years that followed, historians would mark the Battle of Alpha 7 as the moment humanity truly joined the galactic community. Not as subjects or servants, but as partners. The mining station became a symbol of human determination, and Captain Sarah Chen became the first human ambassador to the Cathari Empire. But Sarah always insisted that the real heroes were the 800 miners who turned their tools into weapons and their fear into courage. Because sometimes, she would say, standing up to impossible odds isn't about winning. It's about proving that some things are worth the fight. And across the galaxy, whenever alien species spoke of humanity, they used a word that had no direct translation in their languages. The closest approximation was courage, but it meant something more. It meant the fire that burns brightest when all hope seems lost. It meant the stubbornness that refuses to accept defeat. It meant the something inside humans that made them fight 50,000 ships with mining equipment. It meant being human.